Welcome back to the Quarterly Call. All content discussed here is for informational purposes and is not investment advice. Please consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.
All right.
So today,
Okay.
we're going to be taking a deep dive into PayPal's Q3 2024 earnings. You sent us a whole bunch of documents,
Yeah.
releases, presentations, even those dense analysts called transcripts.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of extract the most impactful bits for you. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack here, especially when it comes to how PayPal plans to become a bigger part of our everyday financial lives.
I think what's really fascinating here is that PayPal isn't just content with a good quarter.
Right.
And they did have a good quarter. They're aiming for what their CEO calls durable, profitable growth.
Okay.
It signals a shift, I think, from the growth at all costs mentality that dominated the tech industry for so long.
Okay, so what does durable, profitable growth actually mean for a company like PayPal? Is this a sign of maturity or maybe even a reaction to the tougher economic environment?
It's likely a combination of both. I think the tech industry as a whole is facing increased pressure to prioritize profits over pure user growth. And for PayPal, this means focusing on strategies that deliver sustainable returns, even if it means slightly slower growth in certain areas. They're playing the long game.
Right, it's about building a business that can weather any storm. So let's dive into the numbers from Q3. Revenue's up 6%, transaction margin dollars, their profit per transaction, are up 8%, and earnings per share jumped a whopping 22%. Those are some pretty impressive figures.
Absolutely. I mean, those numbers suggest that the core business is healthy and that their focus on profitability is starting to pay off. But I think the real story lies in how they're transforming various parts of their business to achieve this, durable growth.
Okay, let's start with something I think everyone knows. That iconic PayPal button, we see it online checkouts everywhere. They're giving it a major makeover, especially on mobile, and it's not just about aesthetics.
No, it's really not. It's really about, their laser focus on making that entire checkout experience incredibly smooth and intuitive, especially on mobile devices where people are increasingly making purchases. And this has a direct impact on how many people actually complete their purchases.
So fewer abandoned carts, more sales. That's something any online seller can appreciate. What kind of impact are they seeing from this revamp?
Early data suggests that this new checkout flow is a game changer. In some cases, they're seeing a 400% increase in customers completing their purchases when using the new checkout process.
Wow.
That's massive.
400%. That's huge. Imagine if you're running an online store and could boost your sales like that. But it's not just about making the checkout process smoother, right? They're also weaving in some interesting financial tools.
You're absolutely right. They're smartly integrating buy now, pay later options directly into that new checkout experience. These options, which allow people to spread out their payments over time, are exploding in popularity, especially among younger consumers.
So PayPal is making it super easy for people to use these buy now, pay later options at the exact moment they're ready to buy. That's a pretty clever way to boost sales and tap into a growing trend.
It is, and it plays into this idea of PayPal becoming more embedded in our daily financial lives.
Okay, so we've got a revamped checkout experience, more buy now, pay later options, all good things for driving sales. But then there's this interesting bit about Braintree, the company PayPal owns, that handles a lot of the behind-the-scenes payment processing for larger businesses. It seems like they're intentionally slowing Braintree's growth. Why would they do that?
This is where we see their price to value strategy in action. Instead of chasing every single transaction, they're being much more selective about the deals they take on focusing on those that are more profitable, even if it means slightly lower overall volume.
So it's about quality over quantity. Instead of selling 100 things at a tiny profit, they'd rather sell 75 things at a much better profit. It makes sense, but it takes discipline to walk away from potential business.
Exactly. It shows they're serious about this shift towards sustainable, profitable growth. And it aligns with their desire to build deeper, more strategic relationships with these larger businesses.
It's about choosing the right partner, the ones that fit their long-term vision. So we've seen how they're changing the online checkout experience and being more strategic with Braintree. But what about their efforts to move beyond online shopping? Remember when PayPal was basically just for buying stuff online? They're trying to change that with their PayPal Everywhere campaign, pushing their debit card and offline spending.
This is where things get really interesting. They're really trying to weave themselves into the fabric of our everyday lives, not just our online shopping habits. And the early data suggests there's real appetite for this. They've signed up over 1 million new debit card users in just a month since launching this campaign.
1 million new users in a month. That's a pretty strong signal that people are open to using PayPal for more than just online purchases. But are these new users actually using the debit card?
They are. And here's the kicker. Those users are spending 5 times more overall when they use both the debit card and the online checkout. That's a powerful insight into how PayPal can increase its share of customer spending.
So they're not just adding new users, they're getting those users to spend more within the PayPal ecosystem. That's a winning combination.
Exactly. And it speaks to their ambition to be your go-to for everything financial, both online and off.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already. The impressive earnings, the revamped checkout experience, the strategic shift with Braintree, and the PayPal Everywhere campaign. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to discuss. Venmo. You know that app everyone uses to split the bill with friends? Well, they have bigger ambitions.
Much bigger. They're aiming to evolve Venmo from a simple peer-to-peer payment app into a more comprehensive financial platform, almost like a digital wallet that competes with Apple Pay or even your traditional bank account.
That's a bold move. How are they actually going about making this happen?
They're employing a multi-pronged approach. First, they're heavily promoting their own Venmo debit card, which saw a 30% increase in users this quarter. Second, they're making it significantly easier to use Venmo to pay for things online, not just send money to friends.
So they're giving people more reasons to use Venmo for their everyday transactions, both online and offline. Could this actually work? Could Venmo become a real competitor to the big players in the digital wallet space?
It's certainly possible. They have a massive user base, a trusted brand, and a growing suite of financial tools. But there are also significant challenges ahead.
And that's what we'll explore in part 2 of our deep dive. We'll delve into the competitive landscape, the regulatory hurdles, and the other risks PayPal faces as it embarks on this ambitious transformation.
Yeah, it's exciting to see PayPal making these bold moves.
Right.
But you know they're not operating in a vacuum.
Right. It's not like they have the playing field all to themselves.
Yeah.
What are some of the competitive challenges they face as they try to become this all-encompassing financial platform?
Yeah, I mean, the competitive landscape is incredibly fierce. You've got the tech giants like Apple and Google with their own digital wallets.
Right.
You've got established players in the financial world like banks and credit card companies. And then you have this whole wave of fintech startups all vying for a piece of the consumer's wallet.
So how does PayPal stand out in this crowded market? What are their advantages?
Well, they have a few key things going for them. I think first is sheer scale. You know, they have over 432 million active accounts. That's a massive user base that any competitor would envy.
That's a good point. It's not easy to build a network of that size. And they've been around for a while. They've built up a lot of trust, especially for online transactions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Brand recognition and trust are invaluable in the financial world. People feel comfortable using PayPal. They know it's secure, but it's not enough to just rest on their laurels.
Exactly. Consumers are demanding more these days. They want seamless experiences, rewards, features that make their lives easier. How is PayPal innovating to keep up with these expectations?
That's the million-dollar question. I think, they need to innovate fast enough to stay ahead of the curve and outmaneuver their rivals. And they need to do it while also maintaining profitability, which is a tough balancing act.
It sounds like they're facing a classic innovator's dilemma. They were the disruptor, and now they're the established player facing disruption themselves.
Precisely. And that's what makes their current transformation so fascinating to observe. They're essentially trying to disrupt themselves before someone else does.
Let's talk about some of the specific risks they face. They're rolling out a lot of new products and initiatives. The revamped checkout, the PayPal Everywhere campaign, the Venmo evolution. Any stumbles along the way could damage their brand and give competitors an opening.
Yeah, execution is critical. Any missteps could be costly. And, they're operating in a highly regulated environment, which adds another layer of complexity.
Regulation is a huge factor in the financial tech world. How well is PayPal navigating that landscape?
They have a lot of experience dealing with regulators, but the landscape is constantly evolving. They need to be nimble and adaptable to keep up with new rules and regulations.
Because non-compliance could mean hefty fines or even restrictions on their operation.
Exactly. And let's not forget about security. They're a prime target for hackers and fraudsters. Any breach could severely erode trust in their platform.
Security is paramount in the financial industry. They need to constantly invest in cybersecurity to stay ahead of the bad guys.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole macroeconomic picture. A downturn in the economy could lead to a decline in consumer spending, which would directly impact PayPal's business.
They're not immune to the broader economic forces at play. Inflation is another factor to consider. If people have less disposable income, they'll be more cautious about their spending.
Yeah, it's a complex web of challenges they're facing.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? They're making smart moves and they have a lot going for them. That massive network we talked about is a huge asset.
Absolutely. And they're clearly aware of the challenges and are actively working to address them. They're not just resting on their laurels, they're pushing themselves to evolve and adapt.
So what are some of the less obvious, more speculative aspects of their strategy? What hints have they dropped about their future plans?
Well, one thing that stands out to me is their increasing emphasis on partnerships. They're teaming up with a wide range of companies, from traditional financial institutions like Fiserv and Adyen to e-commerce giants like Amazon and Shopify.
Interesting. It seems like a shift from their previous go-it-alone approach.
Yeah.
What's driving this new collaborative spirit?
I think they're recognizing that they can't be everything to everyone. Instead of trying to build every single piece of the puzzle themselves, they're leveraging the strengths of other companies to create a more comprehensive ecosystem.
So it's less about owning every part of the transaction and more about being the connective tissue, the platform that brings everything together.
Exactly. And this opens up some interesting possibilities. For example, their partnership with Amazon to integrate PayPal checkout with Buy with Prime could be huge for small businesses. It gives them access to Amazon's logistics network and Prime's loyal customer base.
That's a great point. It could be a win-win for both PayPal and small businesses.
And for PayPal, it gives them a foothold in a whole new segment of the e-commerce market.
Partnerships are definitely one key theme to watch. Any other hints you've picked up about their future direction?
Another subtle but potentially significant shift, I think, is their focus on data and personalization.
You mean using data to tailor the experience for each individual user?
Precisely. They have a treasure trove of data on consumer spending habits, and they're starting to leverage that to offer more targeted promotions, rewards, and recommendations.
That makes sense. It's all about making the experience more relevant and engaging for each person, kind of like how Netflix recommends shows based on your viewing history.
Exactly. And if they can do it right, it could give them a real competitive edge.
Imagine getting personalized offers based on your past purchases or your favorite cashback categories. That would definitely keep me coming back for more. So we've got partnerships, personalization. Anything else you've got your eye on?
This one is a bit more speculative, but I'm curious to see how they further develop their blockchain and cryptocurrency capabilities.
Right. They've already dipped their toes into the crypto waters. Could they become a major player in that space?
It's certainly possible. They have the technology, the user base, and the brand recognition to make a splash.
But the crypto world is still volatile and uncertain. It's a risky bet.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
it's a bet that could pay off big if they play their cards right.
So we've got partnerships, personalization, and maybe even a deeper dive into crypto on the horizon. Any final thoughts on what all this means for the average person?
I think PayPal is trying to become more embedded in our financial lives in a way that's both helpful and rewarding.
It's like they want to be the financial companion that's always there, making things easier, saving you money, and maybe even opening up new possibilities.
And whether they succeed or not, the innovation they're driving is pushing the entire financial industry forward.
So buckle up because the ride is just getting started.
Indeed. And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and keep an eye on those subtle shifts that often signal the biggest changes.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored PayPal's impressive earnings, their revamped checkout, experienced their strategic shift with Braintree, the PayPal Everywhere campaign, and Venmo's evolution. We've also delved into the competitive landscape, the regulatory hurdles, and other risks PayPal faces as it seeks to become a more central part of our financial lives. But there's still more to uncover. Join us for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the specific opportunities and challenges PayPal faces in key markets around the world. We've talked about PayPal's big picture strategy, but let's zoom in a bit. What are some of the specific opportunities and challenges they face in key markets around the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, PayPal's success isn't just about what they do in the US. They're a global company with operations in over 200 markets.
So where are they seeing the most growth and innovation?
One region that stands out is Asia, particularly China and India.
Hmm.
These markets have massive populations with rapidly growing economies and a huge appetite for digital payments.
But those markets are also incredibly competitive, right? You've got local players like Alipay and Paytm that are already well established.
Exactly. PayPal can't just waltz in and expect to dominate. They need to adapt to local preferences, build partnerships, and offer services that cater to the unique needs of these markets.
So What are they doing to crack the code in these challenging but high-growth regions?
Well, they're making strategic investments and acquisitions. For example, they recently acquired a majority stake in GoPay, one of Indonesia's leading digital payment platforms. This gives them a strong foothold in a market with over 270 million people.
That's a smart move.
Yeah.
It's much easier to acquire a company that already understands the local market than to try to build everything from scratch.
Absolutely. And they're also forming partnerships with local businesses and financial institutions to expand their reach. They're not trying to be a lone wolf. They're embracing collaboration.
So Asia is one key battleground. What about other regions?
Latin America is another market with immense potential. Countries like Brazil and Mexico have large unbanked populations and are eager to embrace digital financial services.
So there's a real opportunity for PayPal to fill a gap in the market and provide financial inclusion.
Exactly, and they're already making inroads. They've launched several initiatives in Latin America, including a partnership with Mercado Libre, one of the region's largest e-commerce platforms.
It sounds like PayPal is taking a very tailored approach to each region, recognizing that one size doesn't fit all.
Precisely. They're adapting their strategies to local conditions and leveraging their global expertise to create solutions that resonate with consumers around the world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored PayPal's impressive earnings, their ambitious transformation strategy, the competitive landscape, and the specific challenges and opportunities they face in key markets around the world. So what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway is that PayPal is at a pivotal moment in its history. They're making bold bets to position themselves for the future of finance. They're embracing innovation partnerships and a global mindset.
They're not content to just be a leader in online payments. They want to be the go-to platform for all things financial, both online and offline around the world.
It's an ambitious vision, and it remains to be seen if they can fully achieve it. But the steps they're taking are certainly worth watching.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out in the coming years. And for you, as someone interested in the future of finance, this deep dive has given you a glimpse behind the curtain of one of the industry's most dynamic companies.
You now have a deeper understanding of PayPal's strengths, challenges, and long-term ambitions. And with that knowledge, you can make more informed decisions about how you interact with them, whether as a consumer, a merchant, or an investor.
Thank you so much for listening to the Quarterly Call. If you enjoyed it, make sure to rate and follow our show. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.